Welcome to review for our first test. There are 25 multiple choice questions and 1 practice FRQ. So let's talk about early history and review the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Remember that the Articles caused a system where we had a lack of unity, a lack of central authority, and this was displayed with Shays' Rebellion in the sense that there was discontent among the Revolutionary War veterans who couldn't pay their debts off and they were losing their farms, and so there was no way to deal with that type of conflict, and so that really brought us to the surface where that we had to come up with a new document. And the Constitutional Convention was originally called to revise the article, and there was differing viewpoints among the Founding Fathers as to whether they were given the authority to create a new document or not. The Federalist Papers were the arguments by John Jay, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton in favor of ratifying the Constitution. So they wrote these papers to try to convince the American people and the state legislatures to ratify the Constitution. All right, so when coming up with this new document, we had 2 groups of people. We had people that supported the Virginia plan, which was the large state plan. These were the people that believed they did have the authority to create a new document. They were the people that believed that representation in the legislature should be based on population, versus the New Jersey plan, those people did not believe that they had been given the authority to create a new document. They were based on the smaller states, and so they wanted equal representation, and they felt like if they went to the Virginia plan's plan of based on population, that would represent malapportionment, where the larger states, because they had more people, would have more authority, and that was not what they were looking for. Separation of powers came to us from Montesquieu and his belief that every single one of the branches should have their own legitimate set of powers, and they should really not overlap, so that we could keep some powers separated, literally separation of powers, so that they did not overlap, but they also were taking care of each of the responsibilities, but there was kind of a system of checks and balances as well. The Supremacy Clause is Article 6, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution, and it establishes the U.S. Constitution and federal statutes as well as U.S. treaties as the supreme law of the land. It provides that these are the highest form of law in the U.S. legal system and mandates that all state judges must follow federal law when a conflict arises between federal law and either the state constitution or state law. The Necessary and Proper Clause is a provision in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 of the Constitution. It says to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into the execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by the Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or the office thereof. So this allows the Constitution to stretch and become a viable document as we go through the years. The Privileges and Immunities Clause of the Constitution is Article 4, Section 2, Clause 1, and it prevents a state from treating citizens of other states in a discriminatory manner. Additionally, a right of interstate travel may plausibly be inferred from the clause, and issues of gay marriage, legalization of marijuana, and the death penalty have all been issues with the Privileges and Immunities Clause. All right, so slavery is an issue, obviously, amongst the Founding Fathers and the people of the country at the time. And the Founding Fathers were really hesitant to even mention the legality of slavery in the Constitution. So one of the things that they did was they prohibited Congress from ending the slave trade prior to 1808. They also set up the Three-Fifths Compromise, which was an appeasement to both the North and the South. And it said that 3/5 of the slave population would count for both taxation and representation. Shared powers between the House and the Senate, they have several, but among the one that you need to really pay attention to is the fact that they are both able to establish federal courts. Reserved, delegated, and concurrent powers are set up our system of federalism, which comes from the 10th Amendment. Reserved powers are powers that are given to the states only, like regulating marriage, education. Delegated powers are only given to the federal government, so things like declaring war, creating money, things like that. Concurrent powers are powers that are shared. For an example, you pay state and federal taxes. They both have law enforcement. So those are concurrent powers. Implied powers are authorized by a legal document such as the Constitution, but they're not literally stated in there, they're just implied. So like, for example, Hamilton's creation of the federal bank, our creation of the military draft. Enumerated powers are literally listed in the legal document like the Constitution. So the fact that the power to tax, the power to declare war. Let's talk about the amendments now. And these are amendments that are solely dealing with voting. So the 12th Amendment redefines how the president and the vice president are chosen by the Electoral College, so that it makes a ticket, so that when you vote for Barack Obama, that's also a vote for Joe Biden. When you voted for Mitt Romney, that was also a vote for Paul Ryan, instead of having the top vote getter get the presidency and the second vote getter get the vice presidency. It also ensures that the vice president is eligible to become president. The 15th Amendment ensures that race cannot be used as a criteria for voting. The 17th Amendment shifts choosing of senators from the state legislatures to the people of the states. The 19th Amendment ensures that gender cannot be used as a criteria for voting. The 23rd Amendment grants the District of Columbia the right to 3 electors in the presidential elections. The 24th Amendment ensured that no tax could be charged to vote for any federal office. And the 26th Amendment ensures that anyone that is 18 or over may vote. All right, so let's talk about federalism. Devolution is the process of the federal government basically passing the buck to the states, or the states passing the buck to the local municipalities. One of the things that is not an advantage of federalism is the fact that there is a disuniformity in the way that the mandates are applied to the states, and so that lack of uniformity really causes some problems. Categorical grants are grants that are money given from the federal government to the states usually, and there are strings attached, and these are favored by liberals because liberals are in favor of a larger government with more hands-on control. Block grants are money that are given to the states usually that have fewer, if any, strings attached, and these are favored by conservatives because conservatives favor smaller government. Dual federalism is a system in which the national government is supreme in its sphere and the states are equally supreme in theirs, and that these two spheres of action could and should be kept separate. Cooperative federalism is a concept in which the national, state, and local governments interact cooperatively and collectively to solve problems rather than making policies separately. And lastly, we have malapportionment, which I did mention in relation to the New Jersey plan in the sense that inappropriate or unfair proportional distribution of representatives to a legislative body. And this was their fear that there was going to be more representation by the larger states than by the smaller states. Good luck, and I will see you in class on Friday for your test of 25 multiple choice questions and a practice FRQ. You need to make sure you have both a pen and a pencil for this test.